Hello, good evening. Okay, hello everyone. We'll just wait for another 2 minutes, then we'll start because we are waiting for others to join in as well. So kindly be patient. I'm really, I would really like to apologize for the delay, but just 2 more minutes so that we can just, get everyone to, to get in this meeting. Okay, so good evening, everyone. We're just going to start, and thank you all of you for being so patient. And if you all can hear me correctly, and if you all can see me correctly, can you guys put that in chat box that as a yes that you are able to hear and see me correctly? Can you just put that as a yes in the chat box so that I get a answer from your side? Cool. Yes. Okay, that's great. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. This is Ritik. I'm working as a psychometrician with Psychus, and I hope all of you are doing well, and I'm fine too. And you must be thinking why we have, organized this conversation or a dialogue, right? So here's the fact. We wish to throw light on greatest human quality that has kept them going throughout these years of adversity, and finding them unique paths to success through perseverance and not giving up expectations. We would like to welcome you all on the behalf of Cycus. Yeah, we would like to welcome you all on the behalf of Cycus, to this webinar, to this informative webinar where we are going to talk about resilience and why it is important. Yeah. Yeah. So just a quick check through. So make sure all of you have turned off your cameras and muted yourself, because we don't want any kind of disturbance during the webinar. And one thing I wanted to tell all of you that this webinar will be recorded for educational purposes, so that we can pass it on to other people, if they want more information on this topic, or more information on this particular service of ours. So that is going to be one thing. And we are going to record this session, and I request all of you to switch off your cameras and switch off your voice recorders, to actually minimize any kind of distraction that we are having here. And then we can just proceed further. Cool. So that's about it. Yeah. So we would like to welcome you all on the behalf of Cycus, with an intention to once again remind all of us of this effervescent quality that human beings possess, the quality of being resilient in situations. Change is inevitable, and one day or the other, we have to face it, right? As a famous evolutionary theorist, Charles Darwin once said, he used to believe that, it is not the strongest who survives, but it is the one who is most responsive to change, that makes a difference. So coming to the next part of it, so today we are going to talk about the different viewpoints on resilience. What does it mean, what comes with it. Then we will emphasize on its importance, especially in the current scenario. We'll go much deeper into its background and discuss more on its conceptualizations. We'll also give you a few tips to understand it much better, for yourself, to introspect and understand your levels of resilience. So that's something that we're going to that's going to be the agenda for today. So coming to the basics, what does it mean and what does it contain for all of us? I mean, this is one thing that has always bothered us, right? If we are talking about being resilient, then what does it mean of being resilient, right? So that's one thing that's quite important to understand before we indulge much deeper into this topic. So as you can see on the screen, there are three different conditions. The first picture that depicts first condition is called saving oneself, right, where this person is holding their against all these uh, basically holding an umbrella against these adversities. Just one second.
Stop your mama.
Great. One second. Okay. So sorry for that glitch. Okay, so you guys can see these three conditions on screen, right? Second is about resisting harm, pushing back to adversities when faced by them, right? When you feel under pressured by them. Third is, gaining under adversities, which is not just, surviving, but thriving in case of resilience. So now I would like to ask all of you a quick question. You guys have to, this is going to be a more of, one-to-one interaction that we are going to have, both side interaction, not just me speaking all the time. You guys have to give me your responses in the chat box. What do you guys think? Which of these condition describes and depicts the process of resilience in the most better way? Like, which of these is it? One, saving oneself. Is it two, resisting harm? Or is it three, gaining under adversities? So I would like to request all of you to put your responses in the chat box. Like, give me your responses right now. What do you guys think? Is it one, or is it two, or is it third? The best, yeah, the best possible scenario that that depicts resilience. Great, great. Come on, keep it rolling, everyone. If you haven't replied yet, please do. Great, 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 great. So the answer is all of them, right? But well, it has been widely defined in a variety of ways, but most of these conceptualizations point out to the act of saving oneself under adversities, which is the first point. Resisting harm due to challenges and hardships, that is the second point. as well as gaining under adversities. It is not just about surviving, but about thriving that counts as resilience as well. So that is quite important to understand. So right now we are just trying to understand this diverse definition, right? The resilience is not traditionally what it meant to be was, right? It just does not mean that it just means bouncing back to situations. It means a lot. It also means thriving. It also means protecting oneself. It also means resisting harm, right? So that is one thing that that becomes quite important to understand. Great. Okay. Now, so basically, now coming to the current situation, as we all know that the entire world is fighting, a pandemic due to which most of us are confined within our home spaces or within a zone where where we can be safe and healthy, right? One thing we must remember this, this kind of situation tries to challenge us in unimaginable ways, and it can also impact the way we live our life henceforth. Hence, identifying, acknowledging, and improving our resilience actually can equip us to maintain our homeostasis in these difficult times. That is quite important, especially in this global pandemic scenario as well. Now, most of us are working professionals here, right? And some of us are working to get into the industry sooner or later, right? Some of us might be students, some of us might be HR professionals already. So that's one thing, but in the end, we all, are expecting to just get ourselves into the industry, right? Now we all perform different roles and functions when it comes to our organization. We contribute differently towards the organization's overall success effectively, right? Hence we kind of co-construct it together, right? So employees make up an organization, and any trouble that the organization faces, it is equally incurred by all the employees. Cool. So hence an organization as a whole benefits from being resilient through its policies, through its practices, to better adapt to the changing marketplace rules and standards. Now, new technologies like blockchain supply chain are continuously evolving, and the key is to become sustainable in meeting those demands, right? You just add on to this, this new factor of artificial intelligence, machine learning. Each and every field in the market now, are incorporating artificial intelligence, machine learning. The new age of technology is, incurring on us. So the key to survive is to become adaptive to these changes, to just to become sustainable in meeting these demands. That is quite important. In the current time, since the chance to do our traditional jobs is temporarily disrupted, right? So the way we used to go out to our offices, our workplace, chores at offices, they are just temporarily disrupted, right? So it has mandated our roles and responsibilities in a very different manner, right? No one expected that we would be working from homes for the rest of the 2020. We would be working from homes for, like, let's say more than 6 months. Nobody expected this, but this is something quite quite different than what we expected. And the choice that we have is just to adapt to it, right? Now, as you must have heard, companies, startups, conglomerates, they have come down on their knees, to resist the negative effects that this global scenario has brought down on us. And layoffs and cost cutting is becoming so common in the last 2 3 months. I mean, we all must have heard the news, right? How many people were fired, how many people were laid off without pay, how many people were told to leave the company because the company was not enjoying any kind of profit. They were not getting any kind of active income during this lockdown pandemic phase, right? Now, major industries including hospitality, tourism, and aviation have succumbed to great losses, like great losses in these difficult times. Now, in such conditions, it must be noted that only resilient organizations will prosper in such adversities and thrive in the marketplace. One example that comes to my mind is that of Netflix during the Great Depression times in 2009, right? So in 2009, the peak of the recession, right? Netflix gained 3 million new followers. You must be asking me, Ritik, why is this new, right? I mean, Netflix is such a popular platform. Why is it something which is new, right? But why should it bother me, right? But we should remember that at that time, most of the platforms were pay-per-view, and Netflix was the first one, which came up with their this new TV movie streaming plan, which allowed subscribers to stream an unlimited amount of entertainment a month, which was, a very new thing at that period of time in 2009, when others was just, struggling with their pay-per-view rates, and it was just failing. This business was just failing, providing streaming services to people on payment, right? So since Netflix, the way they adapted to the times, proved to be instrumental in their survival, and their popularity boomed, soon following that. We all know how famous is Netflix right now, right? How how big of a billion-dollar industry it is, right? Now, another example that can be taken from the film, is from the film industry. Film productions, which were traditionally, just succumbed which used to succumb to just theaters for their, movie releases. Now they are, finding alternate ways in online streaming platforms such as Amazon Prime, Netflix to release their movies as well. This thought, it was so alien like a couple of years back, that right now we're just in shock. How can movies like, huge banner movies like Dharma Productions, Yash Raj Productions, they are being released on Amazon Prime and Netflix? Because all of them, what are they doing is they're just adapting to these times, right? Because theaters are closed due to COVID, right? And a lot of people, are not able to go to theaters anytime soon, and that's not going to happen, especially, anytime soon in this year, especially, right? So they are turning to these alternative modes of action, and they're adapting in their own ways, right? And another example, are these big tech giants like Google, who have, already told its employees that, they can work from home for the rest of 2020, and they're also getting this parents allowance as well. So that's how, they're adapting to these changes. And obviously, the way they adapted actually enabled them not only just to survive, but also thrive in the marketplace, right? Which is the key that, not a lot of businesses can keep up to, right? So one thing that comes to my mind is, resilience is not what happens to an organization. It is more of what the organization does with what happens to it. This is quite important to understand. So, if resilience is a quality, then how do we, acquire it? Is it just inherited? Is it passed on from our parents to us, or is it learned as well? So, I would like to ask all of you, what do you guys think? I mean, just give this answer in the chat box. I would like all of you to give a response in the chat box. Do you think is it inherited, or do you think it's learned? I mean, you have to like give your answer in the chat box. So, I mean, I would love to see your answers, all of you. Great, great, great. What about the rest of you? What do you guys think? Quick, quick. Let's get response from everyone so that we can just proceed further. Great, great. So most of you, like since even though some of you actually gave a mixed sense of reaction, but most of you actually focused, most of you actually gave the, learned option, right? So, the answer is both of these are correct. So neuroscientists, have proved that the way in which our brain is structured plays a very important role in our response to stress. Now, serotonin, among other neurotransmitters, in particular, plays a very vital role. It regulates our emotions of calmness, well-being, etc. Which greatly influences the optimism levels of such individuals. Genetics do play a role, but resilience is mostly learned by individuals throughout their lives. Good parenting, independence in handling tasks, peer groups, etc., all determine one's resilience levels. Now, the way in which an individual explains his or her life experiences can also make a difference on his or her behaviors. For example, an individual, let's say an individual, right, who has failed in a particular task, and if he or she blames the situation and generalizes, the negative outcomes to other areas as well, then such an individual is more likely to quickly lose hope when dealing with future challenges. Correct, yes. At workplace, being smart and intelligent at one's job may not mean a lot until and unless the employee knows how to resist effects of negative outcomes like stress and burnout. Until you know how to actually resist these effects of stress, burnout. I mean, it is quite pointless to just keep going at one's work without even knowing a proper strategy to deal with such challenges, right, which can severely affect our levels of performance, our levels of efforts that we put into our work, right? So, moreover, in modern workplaces, which are characterized by staff cutbacks, deadlines, rivalry, organizational change, success relies on an individual's capacity to cope and even thrive when faced with stress. So this becomes quite important. And these days, it is not the one who's intelligent who thrives, in let's say in classrooms, in workplaces, but it is a person, who can actually adapt to challenging scenarios, who can respond in the most effective manner to these hardships and these negative effects of stress, right? So this is quite important to understand, right? So now a quick short recap. So we started by explaining what resilience really means and what importance does it hold for employees and organizations, now especially in the current global pandemic situation, right? And then we threw some light on the changing patterns in the working of organizations around the world. Following that, we talked about how an individual becomes resilient, and you all told me about your responses. Is it only about the hereditary factors, or it can be learned as well? And we understood, that it is a mix of both. And but mostly I would like to emphasize on the learning part of it, because most of us were not born with the level of resilience, right, that we are right now. But most of us have just learned this level of resilience, right? So that is quite important. And then we focused on workplace practices that would actually foster your healthy growth and that would keep you ahead as compared to your colleagues. So that is something that we really need to understand better. So this was the short recap. All of you can take a 10 to 20-second break. We'll just jump right into it. You guys can take a 20 or 10-second break. And if you have enjoyed the webinar till now, please give a yes in the comment box so that we can just keep going after 20 seconds. And if you have found it this informative, useful, please give us a yes in the comment box. So that would be quite um, yeah, motivating here. Great, great. Okay, so shall we start? Cool. So great, great, great. So we'll move on to the next one. Now we'll delve into much deeper theoretical connections that we talked about before. And this is quite important to understand because a lot of things will be based on this. So there, we need to know, just like other constructs, there are a lot of theories that are just lying around, to describe constructs like resilience, in a lot of ways, right? So there are a lot of theories for resilience as well. But in this particular session, in today's session, we are going to discuss two of them. The first is Madeline Rampe's seven pillar model, and second would be the 4C model. Okay. Now, first we are going to ponder over Madeline Rampe's seven pillar model of developing resilience. Now, commonly it is commonly known as seven pillars of resilience. All these seven pillars, that you can see on the screen, they are basically components which contribute, towards a healthy, resilient level in an individual. Now, their presence or absence can significantly affect the, resistance power of people. So this is quite important to understand, right? So we'll go, for them one by one. So now the first of these pillars is that of optimism. It means taking actions, positive actions towards achieving one's goals, and expecting positive outcomes out of the situation. Moreover, having a positive output, positive attitude for the challenges, and making efforts to overcome these also contribute towards optimism. We need to remember that part, because sometimes that happens. A lot of times when people ask us to be hopeful, when people ask us to to just not lose hope in a given situation, to just expect very positively of the outcomes, to just stay positive in situations. So what they're telling us, they're telling us to be more optimistic. So it will be more optimistic, in expecting positively, more positively out of situations. We are more likely to take positive steps that are actually contributing towards our growth, and that are quite beneficial in our personal journey towards our goals, right? That is quite important. And these kind of things, if you are more optimistic, you are more likely to resist the harmful effects of stressful conditions that they're more likely to incur on you, right? So this optimism shares a very direct relationship with our levels of resilience, right? More the optimism, more the levels of resilience that we possess, right? So now the next factor is being solution focused. Most of the times we just focus so much on the problems that just focusing on the solution is something that seems far from reality, right? That seems far fetched. We do not focus on it, and most of the time we just end up dwelling and wasting our time on the problem itself. Now, being solution focused means understanding the situation or the problem from different perspectives, so that we can come up with different solutions to them, different potential solutions to them, so that if one solution doesn't work, we have others as well, right? So looking at conventional as well as novel and unconventional ideas to tackle an issue, that comes under being solution focused. If we focus more on solution than on problem, then we are more likely to to think of the problem as being solvable, and we are more likely to actually go towards the extent of actually solving the problem. This is one important fact that we need to understand. Okay. Now, another important thing to consider is being responsible. So what do we mean by being responsible, right? In layman terms, what do we mean, right? It is basically the degree to which one holds himself or herself responsible, in charge for one's current scenario, as well as being cognizant, being aware of one's prior actions taken to have reached such a phase, right? In addition, it also means not to blame others for one's present scenario. This is quite important. This is a quite important point to remember, because most of the time, what happens, a lot of individuals at workplaces, in classrooms, in a lot of organizations, they don't, take up the authority of their work. They don't take up responsibility for their work, which puts them in jeopardy when it comes to difficult times, because other obviously others won't take responsibility for their work. They need to be accountable for their own work, so that they can learn, and they can just learn from their own mistakes and failures, which becomes quite important, right? Now, the next important step in moving, towards resilience is being accepting of the situation and that of other people as well, and also being accepting of the different perspectives as well. Just imagine this scenario that let's say we all must have faced this issue, right? That in our organizations, when we newly join an organization, we are quite different. We feel quite out of place, right, in this new organization, and the other people just make sure we are at home, they make sure that we are comfortable in this new organization, that we settle in well, right? But if that doesn't happen, just imagine for a moment, if that doesn't happen, and if people are not able and do not want to accept us as a person, like once we are joined in, it becomes quite difficult for us as well and for them as well to work together with us, right? So being accepting is quite important. Such individuals who do not accept easily, of their own skills, of the situations, of the perspectives of others, they become quite rigid in situations. And when it comes to stressful situations and situations of burnout, they are less likely to take help from their colleagues, right? And because they don't have a much positive bond with their colleagues as well. So that is something which we need to address, for ourselves and for our colleagues and for our partners, for our friends at work as well. This is quite important. Now, it does not always being aware of one's current standing, but also being accepting of situations would mean that that basically an ability to not shy away from the situation, but face the reality as it is, right? It also involves, being mindful of the situation. So that is quite important when it comes to being resilient and accepting of the situation. Now, the second last thing is, a personal quality that will make all of us, thrive in such resilient situations, in such, difficult situations, basically that requires resilient, is that, is being a flexible strategizer. It refers to us having a bigger an overview of the bigger picture and on what we are doing, forecasting the future obstacles, and by reassessing the situation, and to effectively plan and try to execute a workable strategy when it comes to future challenges, right, based on our past experiences. So a lot of us, we tend to look at our future challenges in a unidirectional manner, right? We only think of it in from one perspective, that okay, if this problem exists, this is the solution. We do not actually go for a plan B or plan C, because we are quite confident with our plan A, right? But being a flexible strategizer mean that we are quite comfortable in switching plans if the A plan doesn't work. So this becomes quite important when we are working on important tasks, because this might happen, all of your planning and execution might not work on a particular problem because of the nature of the problem. It might change due to the challenging or demanding times, right? Then what, right? Are we going to just drop the plan and lose hope, or are we more likely to just, or are we like more likely to switch plans and be flexible with it? So research has shown that if we are more likely to be flexible with our plans, we are more likely to get success, because then we are not trying to then we are not trying to just force on one particular method of doing things. We are also going we are also switching plans if one plan doesn't work. So just to get basically out like the best out of the situation, the win-win situation, right? That's quite important. Cool. Now, the last important thing to consider is a phenomena which is known as victim of circumstance. So this phenomena is commonly seen in colleagues at workplaces, people in classrooms, people in all walks of life. There are a lot of individuals who when they fail or when they suffer any kind of loss, they're more likely to put the blame on the situation or on other people, right? So basically, it is an individual's ability to try putting the blame and control on the situation and subjecting oneself to being a victim of it. They always try to present themselves as if they were the victims of the situation. They were that was incurred on the side of them, and they just always present themselves in a way that they have failed because the situation was too difficult, maybe, or maybe the others were not helping them, the others were not supportive, and let's say they did not have appropriate resources. So these kind of excuses are quite common if someone suffers from this victim of circumstance mentality, and it becomes quite difficult to cope up with such an individual, especially at work. Because such individual just finds ways to just blame others and situations, and they do not take accountability, and they do not accept situations as it is. They will never try to accept their own faults and mistakes. They will never try to reassess their skills, their assets, their resources, that has actually caused the problem in the first place. So that's quite important to understand. And this particular pillar shares a negative relationship with resilience. People who are more prone to having this victim of circumstance mentality, they are less likely to be resilient in situations. you know Now, what can you see on the screen, right? This might be looking a very complex model, but this is quite easy. Now, coming to the 4C model. Now, we would like to engage all of you in a very fun activity. I would like to ask all of you to participate in an activity. Now, for this activity, you need to get a pen and a blank paper, blank sheet of paper. It can be anything, A4, lining, anything. I mean, we just need a paper, blank paper, and a pen. And if you have it, if you get it, you have like 10 seconds to for it. If you get it, just type yes in the chat box so that we know, how many people are actually they got the paper and the pen for this particular exercise. Great. So while some of you are getting, the papers and pens and all, so someone asked in the chat box, just to repeat the name of the seven pillars. So I would just like, quickly in a minute, go through it so that it becomes clear to all of us. The first pillar was called optimism. Second pillar was called solution focused. Third pillar was called being responsible. Fourth pillar was called, having a support network, which is quite important. And basically, having friends at workplaces will actually help you a lot in, in combating the kind of stressful situations at work. That was the fourth pillar. That was support network. The fifth pillar is accepting, being accepting of the situation. Sixth pillar is that of, being a flexible strategizer. Seventh pillar, the last one, is known as the victim of circumstance. So just a quick, run through all of these. So I'm hoping all of you already have your pens and the papers. If you have them, just give me an indication in the chat box. Just type yes in the chat box so that I know that all of you are ready, so that we can proceed further. Till now, only like two people have given their, yeah. Great, great, great. Okay, I'm glad I could just clear your doubt. Great. So assuming that all of you have it by now, so the 4C model, as you can see on the screen, that there is a machine, input output machine, and these four factors, the 4Cs, they are just the input, and the output that you get is another label which is called mental toughness, right? So what does it mean, right? Obviously it means that all these 4Cs, they contribute to your level of mental toughness in situations, right? So, the 4C model, it emphasizes on four factors that combine together to result in the mental toughness of an individual. Now, these are namely: first is control, second is commitment, third is challenge, and fourth is confidence. Now, I would like to ask all of you to do this first step. Now, divide your sheet into four different parts, label all these four different parts as, control first, then commitment second, challenge third, and fourth is confidence. So just divide your paper into four parts, just like we do SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So divide your paper into four different parts and label them with control, commitment, challenge, and confidence. And make sure you have enough space under them to just write it down. Just type yes in the comment box, if you're done with this first step. Great, great. So this is going to be a very informative activity for all of us, to actually introspect, to understand more about ourselves. That is quite important to understand here. Cool. So now we are going to move further. Now, first comes control. We'll first understand it, then we'll try to apply it, right? So first comes control. So what do we mean by it, right? Well, it means understanding our emotions, our reactions, and what is happening around us, to be in a state of charge, to be in a state of charge upon them. If we are in control of our situations, if we are in control of our reactions, of how we react to situations, of our emotions, then it really helps us in responding in the best possible manner to the demanding situations. We do not just we do not just go out of control when we face an adverse scenario. If we think that we are in control of the situation, we are more likely to respond in a very effective manner than responding in a very haphazard manner if we think that the situations are out of control. Now the second step of this activity is, now I want all of you guys to to list five things under control section. Just write five things under control section, list down five things, jot down five things, five situations in your life that you think are getting out of control. It can be anything. It can be a situation at workplace, it can be a situation at home, it can be a situation in your daily life, it can be a situation with someone else as well. It can be a situation in your workplace life, it can be a situation in your romantic life, it can be a situation in your personal life as well. So I want you to jot down five different situations in your life right now. It can be five or less or anything that you're comfortable in writing. Jot down five situations which you think are out of control right now in your life. It can be as small as not being able to upskill yourself, or it can also mean it can be a huge thing as well as having troubles in relationships. It can be anything. So since none of you will have to actually show your sheet here, so you can be quite explicit in it, and express yourself in the best possible manner. So write down five different things that you think are out of control in your lives right now. So just jot them down, and we'll give it 10 more seconds, then we'll move further. Once you are done, just put a yes in the chat box so that I know that you have done this step. We'll move further then. Great, great, great. So once all of you are done with the second step, just write done or yes in a chat box so that we get a clarity over how many of you are done, and then we can just proceed further with everyone, right? You can take your time. You need not write five. You can write seven. You can write eight. You can write three. You can write two. You can write even one. If it's difficult for you, just type in the comment box. If you have any doubts at any point of time, we'll be more than happy to just take everyone on board and proceed further. Cool. So since most of you are done, now the next step, another important step towards having a sense of mental toughness is having a strong sense of commitment to a particular task, right? This involves not getting distracted easily and focusing just solely on the task, just concentrating on this task. Now in the commitment section, I would like all of you to divide it into two further subsections in the commitment section. Now, the first list, let's go one by one, right? Let's not make it complex. So, in the commitment section, you're going to write down two lists. Now, list down two lists. Now, in the first list, talk about the five different distractions that each of the five situations that we discussed in the first, control scenario. Just write five distractions that are associated with these five conditions. It can be connected, it cannot be also connected as well. Five distractions that you think, five distractions which are quite equivalent when it comes to these tasks, because of which you're not able to focus on them solely. So what are these five distractions that you're facing in these five different scenarios that you have listed down in the control section? So write down, jot down five distractions. It can be three, it can be two. I mean, five is just a standard number. You can write more, you can write less. And once you're done with this step, you can just affirm in the chat box that you're done with this particular activity, so that we can just proceed further. We just have 10 more seconds to go, so just take your time. It does not matter if you have written five, if you have written seven, but even if you have written one or two, that will do the work as of now, for now. Cool. So I would like all of you in this second step to jot down five distractions that are associated with these five activities that you listed down in the first step. So what are these five distractions that are causing you trouble in actually thinking that these situations are not in control? It can be as minor as someone disturbing you while you're doing your work, or it can be as big as you not being able to having those skills to do that work. It can be anything. So just write down those five distractions that are causing these situations to go out of hand, right? Which are causing them to become uncontrollable, right? So that's what we are going to target right now. Once you're done, just give me a yes so that we can just quickly move further. Great, great, great. Cool. Great, great, great. So we'll move further. Now the second list that you're going to make on the in under the commitment section, it's going to talk about the possible solutions to these distractions. Now you don't need to focus on the uncontrollable situations. Just focus on these five distractions that you have noted down. Just jot down five different solutions that you can do to reduce or remove these distractions. It can be anything. It can be maybe asking someone to just stop disturbing you. It can also mean you like asking others to lower down the volume of the music, or asking others to give you more peace, or anything. It can be anything. can be anything. What do you think can be the five possible scenarios, which can provide solution to this these five distractions, or anything? It can be a one particular solution that you think will work for everything. It can be seven or eight as well. So I mean, it depends on you. What do you think? So just jot down five different solutions that are quickly coming to your mind. This is going to be a quick activity. You don't have to think a lot on it, and just jot down the first thing that comes to your mind and just write that these distractions. Great. You need to write that on the list, in that commitment list. Someone mentioned meditation. Yes, a great thing, that can actually help a lot of people to actually just reduce the distractions and work effectively in given situation, but it may not work for everyone, right? So you need to write down your own personal methods of reducing these kind of distractions. What do you think right now can be the best possible ways to reduce these distractions, right? Once you're done, give me a thumbs up. We have 5 more seconds to go for this particular step, then we can just proceed further, or you can just write a yes in the chat box and I'll get the message. Great. So now we are going to move further. And don't worry if you have written like two or three solutions as well. We can just move further. You can complete it later on, and you can get that understanding later on as well. Right now, even if you have written one or two, that is more than enough, right? Now next thing that is that of facing challenges, is that of uh, always challenging oneself with obstacles and situations. It is important to work your brain in a fun and challenging manner, which would constantly keep you active in terms of efforts you put in a given situation. Now constantly challenging oneself helps you push your limits and realize your true potential, and it really helps you to come out of our comfort zones and actually give our best in a given situation, right? So now I would like all of you in the in the now come to the third section, which is the challenge section. Now I would like all of you to write about five challenges that you are facing with these five situations that seem out of control. We must have mentioned some situations in the first section, right? That these situations are out of control. Now write five basic challenges that you're facing. It can be you not being able to upskill your level. Maybe it can mean that you not being able to talk to someone, which is the biggest challenge for you in these five particular situations that you noted in the first point. So you have to write down five challenges which are causing this situation to go out of hand entirely. If you overcome these challenges, everything will be perfectly normal. So you have to write down those five challenges in the challenge section. And once you're done, again the same step, you can just put a yes in our chat box, so that I know that you have done this step. And we are going to wait for you. We are going to give you time. You have 20 seconds to go. This step is quite challenging. This step is quite challenging in a way that it really asks us, it really requires us to introspect into our deepest thoughts and attitudes, and this becomes quite important to understand. So I would like you all, again I'm repeating, for list down five challenges, basic major challenges that you're facing with respect to being in control, committing to these situations. Five major challenges. Maybe one major challenge can be I'm not getting enough time management is one major challenge for me. That can be a challenge. I mean, that is a challenge for a lot many of us, right? So you can jot that down, right? So once you're done with listing down these five major challenges, you can let me know in the comment section, so that we know, we are keeping a track on how many of you are done with it and how many of you are still you have to go. So you have 10 more seconds to go. You can take your time. So no worries, even if you have listed one factor, and even if you have listed 7 8 factors, it does not matter right now. What matters is that you have mentioned something. That is quite important. Okay. So if you're done with this step, just give me a yes in the chat box. Okay, great, great. So now we'll move further. So now the last but not the least, the most important thing when it comes to mental toughness is that having a sense of confidence. Confidence is something which is so vital in everything that we do, right? It's basically an ability to realize, acknowledge, and act upon on our skills and talents to maximize our performances, right? Now, it does not mean to be the most intelligent in the room, but having trust and a sense of belief in your values and skills, that is always the key, that can always work, right? It what Being confident is something, that what matters, right? At one point of time, your knowledge, your intelligence, your IQ level would not mean a lot, but if you're confident with something, that would mean a lot to other people, sitting in the same room as with you. And it will actually make you stand out of crowd, right? Away from the crowd, apart from crowd. Now, for this section, I would like to request all of you, for the last section. We are towards the end of this section for this activity. Now, for the last section of confidence, I would like all of you to write down, five skills or values that you are most confident about, that you think, will actually get you out of these challenging situations, that will actually, get these uncontrollable, situations in your hands. So what do you think are those five, five skills or five, values that you're most confident about? For example, if I'm someone who is, who values relationship with others, and I'm having problems with, with relationship with my colleagues, with my partner, let's say. So for me, one thing that I need to be confident about is, having a sense of personal bond with someone, caring with for someone. So that is something which I need to improve on my end, which I need to be more confident about. And this is something which is more of a value that I know, if I build this value, I will be able to overcome these challenges as I listed in the previous section, right? So again, I'm repeating, list on five, skills and values that you think will be, will get you more confidence to overcome these five challenges or situations that you mentioned before, right? So once you're done the same scenario, you can just, give me a thumbs up, or, you can write a yes in the comment section, so that I know that you're done with this activity and this part of the activity. Now this part is quite interesting, because it makes us quite aware of our, of our skills, our assets, our resources. And a lot many times, we are not even aware of our, skills, resources, assets. And that's why some of us may actually lack that kind of confidence that other people possess, right? The more in touch we are with these skills and, our capabilities, our abilities, the more confident, it makes us result under, right? Great, great. So once you're done, just give me a yes in the comment box, so that I know that all of you are done with this. Great. We have 5 more seconds to go. We can just move further. In 5 seconds, we'll move further. Okay. So just to recall, these four C's are control, commitment, challenge, and confidence. Okay. These four, scenarios, these four C's basically will help you to become mentally tough in situations. And these, basically, describe your level of mental toughness. Now, if you are done with the entire activity, just give me a yes in the comment box, and I'll tell you something interesting about the activity. If you're done with the entire activity, just give me a yes in the comment box. You have 10 seconds about for it. Great, great. So I affirm all of you for doing this. And what you have right now, just hold your paper in the air like this, and look at it, right? Just take like 5 to 10 seconds just to look at it. And what you have right now is your own personal 4C framework, right? Everything is there. The challenge you're facing, what you need to do to reduce distractions, what are the distractions, what are the major challenges that you need to overcome, and what are the skills that you need to develop to overcome those skills. So you have the entire roadmap to becoming, mentally tough in situations in front of you, right? This is something that we wanted to give to all of you, that something tangible that you can take from this session. So paste this paper, somewhere that you can see every day. and keep unchecking things from it that you just overcome, right? If I overcome some challenge today by using some solutions that I have given for myself, I would actually, just cross it, like cross it, and then move on to the next challenge. And this is how we actually need to develop our understanding, our of situations, our understanding of situations, so how we tackle situations, how we deal with situations, right? Everything was there. I did not help anything. You guys only came up with your own solutions on your own distractions, own path towards achieving these goals, right? So this is your personal 4C roadmap to become mentally tough in situations. Okay, so great, great. Thank you all for participating, and now we'll just move further, right? So as you all know, working from home has become the new normal, right? Well, all those of you who have shifted, to work from home mode are already adapting to these difficult times, and hence you are resilient in your own ways. I affirm this action that we all are doing, right? Just to give you an example, which is a great thing because all of you are resilient in your own ways. So commend yourself. I mean, this is a commendable job that all of us are doing, and I affirm all of you in doing this. And basically, just to give you an example, just to give you a better understanding of the 4C, let's try to apply the 4C model here, right? Now, just imagine if we did not, have a sense of control over our work from home situation. It would have been so chaotic, thus causing us more stress, more anxiety, right? It is something, and it is also something that we need to commit. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to work at all, right? And it will also affect our performance as well. Just think for a second, if all of you who are working in an organization, if you're working, from home, if you're studying from home, if you did not commit to this particular scenario, if all of us did not commit to this particular scenario, the entire world would have collapsed, right? So we all have adapted to this different, this unique way of working from home. That's why it's working, right? We all have committed to it, right? We were not rigid in our ways. Even though we were rigid, we had to adapt to them, right? So that is quite important in us moving, always tending to move further. Now it is challenging in a way that a lot of us are not familiar with this mode of working from home, especially the senior member of our organizations, right? Especially when we have not worked from home ever before. I mean, a lot of organizations these days, they make it as a choice and not make it as a compulsion for you to work from home. But now everything is compulsory, everyone is compulsorily advised to work from home. So this is quite challenging. And if it wasn't for us to come out of our comfort zone and to adapt to these changing scenarios, we would not have been able to achieve this goal of working from home, right? This would have been too unrealistic and too non-achievable, right? Non-attainable, right? Now we need to understand that being rigid with just will just be counterproductive in every situation. Hence, trying to come out of our comfort zones and adapting to these changes with an attitude that will get through them, will make it possible, right? It will be a huge sign of a mental toughness. That's one thing that we need to understand and move further with. So now, moving further. So now moving further, I would like to focus more on how traditionally resilience has been understood and what are the different ways in which it can be measured. So traditional measures of resilience, like call it the constructs, have been widely created under this umbrella of self-report. Meaning what the individual makes of situation, their individual perception, and their differential evaluation of such incidences in their lives. Traditionally it was supposed to be in a way that if anyone, if a researcher or theorist wanted to understand your level of resilience, they would just ask you to report or jot down certain points in your life where you actually overcame a particular or given situations with some resources that you had or something like that, right? So we need to understand, as much as these resources have been valuable over the past century. They have garnered valuable data, but they have come to be questioned for their authenticity and applicability, because such measures were not reliable. And an individual could provide self reports which may not be consistent with each other, right? An individual have the full power to actually influence them in any way possible, right? To actually respond in a very socially desirable manner. to make them look as, as the situations were the biggest, as the situations were the toughest that they overcome, right? Now as an individuals, now we need to understand one important point, is, an individual's resilience level is dynamic. I mean, it's not static. It changes throughout one's life. It keeps on changing, it keeps on developing as the person, faces new experiences in their lives. Hence, it is important to get an objective, measure of understanding resilience, which doesn't focus entirely on subjective inputs. These tests, were developed to be more reliable and are more rigorously tested on numerous individuals, a mass of population, to establish its robust nature. These have come to be known as psychometric measures that we, and that we label them today. And we need to understand that these are, quite scientific in their ways. For example, let me take this analogy of that of a doctor, right? So for example, you go to a doctor, and you have some, let's say you have some kind of stomachache, right? And stomachache can mean wide variety of things. It is just a symptom, right? So doctor, before, telling you something, something concrete, he or she will ask you a lot of questions, right, which are quite standardized in their ways, right? Which doctors ask, to a lot of patients who are having these stomach, pains, right? And some doctors will ask you then to, actually, take some tests, get some tests done, and, get reports. So what they are also doing is they are relying on, reliable information. They are going for scientific information. They're just, asking you to get these tests done, so that they also know, what do, these machines tell us about your body. They are going for the objective manners, not their subjective manners on what they think it is, right? They're also going for the objective manner of testing in this context. So just like that, psychometric assessments have come to be, have come to known as quite popular in this 21st century. And they are quite, objective in their ways. They do not, take into account the subjective, the subjective, biasness that comes into play, with, that we saw in terms of self reports. They are reliable. That, for example, if you ask someone to take, tests on two different occasions which are separated by some time frame, they will be more likely to have the same, set of, results that they got. So this is something which is reliable. This is something which is quite scientific. It goes through levels, layers of testing, rigorous, intensive testing, rich theoretical background, all of the statistical analysis on it. And that's how we come up with the entire, scale, right? Now, there you have us, at Cycus. We are an upcoming, talent in this field. So we at Cycus, we are a bunch of behavioral architects who are passionate to use, technology and knowledge to better decode personality. And, so this is just an overview of the services we provide in resilience. Now, if you choose to take it further, you can opt for either of these three, service options. And, we and the reports will be highly personalized, and, they will be curated, and they will be tailored for your own personal, use, and your own personal set of strengths and, weaknesses. And, right now we are running this, 48, hours campaign. We are going to open a registration link that we are going to send on the WhatsApp group that you all are a part of. And, we are only taking in 20 registrations, currently. And, it's going to be open for a time frame of 48 hours. And, we are going to take in, 20 registrations only, and we are going to provide, 20 people with their reports, depending on what package they choose, right, out of these options. We are going to provide 20, of these first come first serve registrations in a week. Like, we are going to provide, them with a report in a week, in like a detailed report which is personally curated, right, which is personalized, as well. So that's one thing. So now, what did we learn today? We understood that no matter what the circumstances are, they may be difficult, right? They may be challenging, but we can always count on our resilience to face them effectively, right? Especially in these times of pandemic. Now, it is quite, important to better emphasize on it and strengthening it further. Now, also remember that it can always be learned, so one need not be born with it. You can always make it better and improve it to restore higher levels of homeostasis when faced with challenges or adversities, right? And we understood the various theoretical backgrounds that we, undertook, and we also undertook an activity to assess our levels of mental, toughness, right, where we came up with our own 4C, roadmap towards, becoming more mentally tough, right? Now, reflecting on our actions and past learnings can greatly influence how we make of the upcoming future scenarios. This is quite important to understand, how we use our past scenarios, how we use learnings from our past scenarios to actually, to actually forecast our plans, to execute a better effective plan for our future, which becomes quite important. And that's why, we'll be more resilient to situations if we plan and execute effectively, right? we if we do not plan effectively, we'll just be caught off guard with situations, we'll just be overwhelmed with the situations, right? We need to be prepared for everything, right? So that's all, ladies and gentlemen. I Now the platform is all yours. Now, if you would like to ask any question in the comment box about, in the chat box about our services, about anything in particular related to the topics that we discussed today, I mean, you can just shoot your questions. We'll in the chat box, and we'll try to answer some of them. So the platform is open to all of you. If you're having any particular doubt or any particular query that you're having, you can shoot your questions in the comment box. Just type your questions in the chat box, and we would love to respond to all of them right now. If you're having any queries related to our services, or related to the topics that we discussed today, anything which is still not clear, anything that you would like me to just give you an overview, you can just jot it down in the chat section, and it will be great help for everyone, right, to understand this further. So just giving this 10 more seconds. If you're still writing a question, you are more than welcome to ask anything. And uh, and uh, if you do not have any question, just just tell me how you like this, if you like this webinar. Yeah. Okay. So we have this one question: is there any internship that we can join at your firm? So the thing is, that we are obviously, we are a developing organization. We are an upcoming tycoon in this field of psychometry, and we are constantly looking for people, for exciting people, for talented people to join us on board. And you can look for these, and we are, obviously, we have a lot of, places open up as well. But what you can do is you can go to LinkedIn on our page, and you can follow us there, and you can seek these opportunities there itself. You'll get to know what opportunities are open for you, which will better tailor your needs and your skills, because that is quite important, the person and the job fit, right? So yes, and if you're talented enough, and if you are possessing a lot of skills, that we would love to have you on board. Just you can do one thing. You can go on a LinkedIn page, and you can search for opportunities there, right? You'll get all the opportunities there, we must have listed down there, right? Okay, great. Anything else, guys? And if you don't have any question, I would like all of you, to just type in the comment box, in the chat box, how you felt about the presentation, if you liked anything about it in particular, and what about it, that you would take away today. So great, great, great. Great. So now with that, we come towards this end of this session. Now, thank you all for being a great audience and joining us today. Now, remember to share the learnings of this session with your friends and family members. Like, this would be best thing to do, to just share whatever you have learned today, to just, pass on to someone, someone who's close to you, someone who would benefit from this kind of information, right? For further information on our services and what we do, you can actually go to our website, which is www.psychus.com. We would love to hear from you on a LinkedIn page as well. And let us know on our LinkedIn page. You can just chat with us on our LinkedIn if you would like to recommend us anything, or if you would like to know more about our services. And if you just would like to, drop a message and say, hey, we are ready for that as well. So thank you all of us for being great members, and great audience members. And I would I would see you guys next time with a different topic. Cycles would see you next time. till then, just be safe and healthy, and just try to be resilient in all the situations. So that's going to be our motto in this current pandemic time, right? Okay, then. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.